Hello, you're watching VTV News, brought to you live from a home base in Hanoi. I'm Michael Liu, and here's the top news coming your way. Inflation rate lower than forecast, calling for further readjustments in economic policies. Firms face technical barriers in world market as trade turnover falls. Vietnam pledges cut to future emissions, showing determination to combat climate change. More to come in just a moment. Now, first off, the National Assembly Standing Committee is considering a government's report on the socioeconomic situation in 2015 and forecasts for 2016. According to the report, the Consumer Price Index in the first 9 months of 2015 increased by just 0.74% year-on-year. CPI for the whole of 2015 is forecasted to increase from 1.5 to 2.5% on last year, which is much lower than the 5% forecasted at the beginning of the year. GDP of 2015 is likely to reach 6.5%, which is 0.3% higher than forecast. According to experts, these figures call for further readjustments in economic policies. The business sector is celebrating Vietnam Entrepreneurs Day on October the 13th. To add to the celebration, the industry and trade has received some positive statistics of Vietnam's economic performance in the first 9 months of the year. Over 68,000 businesses have been established throughout the country. The volume of capital invested into these new startups has increased by over 32%. Moreover, nearly 13,000 businesses have returned to business after operation holds. These reflect the government's economic policies have paid off. The Vietnam Software and Services Association has officially released a list of 40 best IT corporations in 2015. This is the second event of its kind, aiming to promote the best of Vietnamese IT service providers. This year's top 40 recorded total profit of over $638 million and provided employment for over 23,000 highly skilled IT personnel. These companies include FPT, VTC, Intercom and VMG. Vietnam is also emerging as a key market for global IT giants such as Intel, Samsung and Microsoft. These companies have invested billions of dollars in projects in Vietnam. The Vietnamese IT sector is looking to improve quality standards, meet the latest technological standards and increase competitiveness. A conference taking place on October the 13th in Ho Chi Minh City heard that Vietnam's export turnover in the first 9 months was up 9.6% compared to the same period last year, at over $120 billion. However, trade turnover for Vietnamese enterprises fell. Agriculture and aquaculture are predicted to face many difficulties.
Countries routinely use protectionist measures to create technical barriers to protect domestic production and consumers. Typical cases include India's 20% tax on imported steel, while Indonesia, Thailand and Malaysia are investigating anti-dumping accusations against Vietnamese imported steel.
We're being sued in 4 or 5 cases. The key thing is enterprises must be proactive in preparing for the worst-case scenario. Links between different businesses associations must be strengthened. We need to hire good lawyers because Vietnamese enterprises usually lack experience in international business law.
Aquaculture and agriculture are the most likely sectors to be affected. To overcome the higher technical barriers, firms have to spend 10 to 30% more on production. This means the country's exports are less competitive.
We cannot put the blame on technical barriers and protectionism. We have to be aware that globalization and economic integration is the general trend now. We have to meet the higher requirements of the global market and ensure the safety of our products.
According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, Vietnamese enterprises face severe competition due to the increasing supply of agro-produce and aquaculture products and the cheaper price of goods. In addition, some competitors have devalued their currencies to lower the price of their exports. Therefore, Vietnamese goods are becoming more expensive and less competitive. For example, Vietnamese shrimp are currently 20% more expensive than shrimps from Indonesia and India.
To resolve this issue, Vietnamese companies have to find new ways to lower production costs in order to compete with products from countries where they have devalued their currencies to boost exports. We were successful in lowering 40% of our production costs, so we became more competitive.
According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, the total trade turnover of 2015 is 10% higher than 2014, meeting the forecast goal.
Agriculture and food safety experts from New Zealand's leading science institutes visited Hanoi from October the 12th to October the 13th to participate in a seminar on growing sustainable food value chains from local creation to global consumption. The event was invented to support Vietnam's goal to enhance the productivity of its agriculture sector. More to follow.
Agriculture and food have been crucial to New Zealand's economy. More than 80% of New Zealand agriculture produce is now exported. To get to this point, New Zealand faced many challenges in terms of food safety and quality control, productivity and distribution. At the seminar, New Zealand agriculture experts stressed the importance of food safety in the development of Vietnam's agriculture sector.
Consumers all around the world is increasingly looking for assurance that their food is safe and that it's good for them. So anything that Vietnam can do to increase consumer confidence in their food is going to be good for Vietnam.
According to experts, there is huge potential in terms of agricultural cooperation between the two nations.
New Zealand has good science and technology. The country also has good relationships with other countries in various fields. I think Vietnam and New Zealand have great potentials for cooperation in agriculture. Currently, bilateral trade is quite dynamic.
According to the New Zealand ambassador to Vietnam, Heike Manning, there will be huge opportunities for Vietnam's agriculture sector as a result of the new trade agreements, such as the Trans-Pacific Partnership or TPP. However, such opportunities can depend on having high-quality systems and products and deep knowledge of building brands and marketing in overseas markets.
We're looking to build commercial partnerships with Vietnamese companies and agribusiness companies, and also with farmers here. So there's lots of different opportunities here to work through more traditional ways of working, like development assistance, but also working in commercial partnership in future as well.
This event is part of the new model of cooperation between Vietnam and New Zealand, focusing on the government-to-government commercial partnership. It aims to support the work underway to the New Zealand Development Assistance Program and the Food Safety Cooperation Mechanism set up by the two governments in March 2015. Guang Ling for Vietnam Television, Hanoi.
Now, despite their popularity, the production of clean vegetables still remains at a small scale, with most vegetables produced at a household level. More support measures are needed to promote the production of organic vegetables.
With a population of 9 million, Hanoi consumes 2,000 to 3,000 tons of vegetables a day. Just 5,000 hectares is devoted to cultivating clean vegetables, producing just 795 tons a day, meeting just 30% of demand.
Vegetables in Hanoi come from 23 provinces. I think besides strengthening the existing hubs for safe vegetables, we need to build more hubs in nearby regions. Local authorities need to implement support policies and tighten supervision to ensure the quality of the produce.
One of the main providers of green vegetables for Hanoi is the Linh Nam Cooperative. With more than 104 hectares, and total production of 10 to 13 tons a day. This cooperative is one of the biggest clean vegetable production hubs in the north.
We implemented training projects for farmers to grow clean vegetables. After a few years, we've seen big improvements. Farmers have better income, and the Lingnam vegetable brand name is well regarded.
Big companies like Vineco, a subsidiary of Vingroup, have also invested in agriculture. Enterprises and cooperatives have become a major driving force in the agriculture sector.
Vineco rents land from farmers and hires farmers to produce clean vegetables. The company guarantees outlets for the products.
Food safety has become increasingly important. Consumers are becoming more selective. Therefore, companies providing clean vegetables need to have a long-term strategy to build and maintain their brand name.
With a total investment of roughly $1.2 billion into infrastructure, Guang Ling is now one of the country's leading localities in attracting private capital to developing infrastructure. With a recent government's decision allowing localities to attract investment for highway construction, Guang Ling province could see even more room to attract private sector investment.
This 25-kilometer causeway cost over $600 million, of which the nearly half came from the local budget. When finished by 2017, the route will have transport times from Guang Ling to Thanh Hóa province and will also help complete the economic corridor between Quảng Ninh, Hải Phòng and Hanoi.
The investors could receive toll fees. This is how Guang Ling attracts investors.
Besides infrastructure, Guang Ling is now one of the few localities to complete the plan to connect all its island communes to the national grid. Electricity has changed the life of thousands of the people living on the islands.
Electricity prices were very high, at $0.7 per hour before, so tourism services didn't develop. Now with the national grid, everyone can find ways to earn more.
The province has maintained an average growth rate of 9% per year over the last 5 years. This result is attributable to the local authorities' efforts to improve infrastructure. Guang Ling is one of the 5 leading localities in the Provincial Competitiveness Index. Since the beginning of this year, 65 new projects have got the go-ahead.
Total FDI to the province reached over $5 billion in the first 6 months of this year. We think that infrastructure is one of the factors that has attracted investors.
The area also welcomed the unveiling of the 450 billion Vietnam Dong port, laying the foundation for a developing tourism industry. Guang Ling's local authority also intends to call for investment in public-private partnerships and 100% foreign invested projects.
So how's the Vietnam Dong performing at the moment? Let's find out in our following charts. Still to come on VTV News, Vietnam pledges cut to future emissions, showing determination to combat climate change. And later on, international driver's licenses issued from October the 15th, allowing Vietnamese drivers to join traffic in over 85 countries. Stay tuned. Now, the Ministry of Home Affairs has revealed Hanoi is currently leading at 58 points in the process of regulatory reform. Hanoi has introduced many innovative ideas, such as the digitization of civil records, increased applications of technology into examinations, and human resources software. However, the city will still need to improve its restructuring process to achieve higher results and amend existing problems. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, otherwise called MONRE, on October the 12th convened a meeting in Hanoi at which they announced a series of actions to foster great investment in climate change mitigation and lower greenhouse gas emissions. The pledge is part of Vietnam's intended nationally determined contribution report submitted to the Secretariat of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. The event was co-organized by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, UNDP, and GIZ Vietnam.
Intended nationally determined contributions are commitments in which countries hope to maintain average global temperature rises to below 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the 21st century, compared with the pre-industrial levels. The program was adopted in the COP19 in Warsaw. Vietnam was among 148 countries that made a commitment.
This is a very good political sign, a sign of political will and political commitment. In terms of priorities for implementation, it's very important that Vietnam focuses on taking steps on real actions very soon.
First of all, the most important thing is the political will of Vietnam. And if there is sufficient support from the political side for the implementation, I'm pretty sure that you can also agree with our government on how GIZ could play a role in supporting the implementation.
Reports from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment in 2010 showed that Vietnamese emissions per capita were not so high, and total Vietnamese emissions only accounted for 0.5% of the total figures. The country aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 8% to 2020 and possibly by 25% prior to 2030 if it can muster enough support from the international community. To achieve that, Vietnam will need to improve its forest management and agriculture while coping with rising sea levels.
We are also planning to develop a roadmap for the implementation of the intended nationally determined contributions to achieve these goals. For example, we are trying to reduce greenhouse gas through a more efficient use of energy and the application of renewable energy sources. In addition, agriculture, effective land use, reforestation and forest protection are also worth mentioning.
To fully and effectively implement the national INDC report, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment suggested that Vietnam should carry out careful preparations in terms of the policy framework, technology, and call for international support. The country should also make more suggestions to the INDC at the forthcoming COP21 in Paris by the end of this year.
The Vietnam Administration of Road Traffic will finally officially begin granting international driver's licenses from October the 15th. This will be finally carried out after months of delay. Deputy Head of the Vietnam Road Traffic Administration attributed the delays to equipment difficulties. Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City will be the first destinations for applicants to receive their new licenses. The Vietnam Administration of Road Traffic is finishing the digital database and preparations for the new driver's license. Eligible applicants are supposed to receive their license within 5 working days. Medical fees are expected to increase in November after working sessions between the Ministries of Finance and Health. Further details of the increases will be released in the near future. According to the Ministry of Health, the increase is due to the higher prices for medications, utilities, waste management, infrastructure, equipment, research and staff's wages. The move will be carried out through multiple processes. Medical costs to see increases in 2015 include health checks, tests and treatment using new technology and accommodation. The government will transfer $430 million a year into hospitals to assist people with public health insurance. If people with disabilities are given sufficient support, they're quite capable of making the most of their strengths to make a significant contribution to society. Bearing that in mind, Thừa Thiên Huế Province's Blind Association and charity organisations in the province are making efforts to help people with disabilities integrate back into society.
Toàn Tâm Workshop, owned by the Blind Association in Quang Dien District, Thừa Thiên Huế Province, now provides jobs for 10 blind people. These workers are now making products for daily use, including incense, brooms and toothpicks.
Thanks to the support from the association, I was able to get a job to earn some money. I'm happy as I've overcome my difficulties.
According to statistics from Quang Dien District's Blind Association, workers at the Toàn Tâm Workshop can earn up to $35 per month. Although this isn't much to the workers themselves, it is worth its weight in gold. More importantly, the jobs they are doing also help them integrate into society.
Toàn Tâm employs 22 members who are people with disabilities. The jobs here help them become more self-confident and share the burdens with their families.
Thừa Thiên Huế Province Blind Association has nearly 2,000 members, while only 297 of them have jobs in workshops for people with disabilities. These workshops are now also facing competition from other businesses, and many people with disabilities have not been offered jobs in workplaces.
In the coming time, we'll focus on vocational skills for young people with disabilities and help them seek jobs in cooperatives and businesses.
Supporting people with disabilities is about empowerment and allowing people with disability to contribute to society. But for this to happen, local authorities should encourage businesses in Thừa Thiên Huế Province to play more active roles in this task.
A school milk program was jointly launched in Hanoi by the Ministry of Education and Training and the Ministry of Health. Deputy Chairwoman of the National Assembly, Tong Thị Phóng, attended the event. The school milk program aims to reduce the percentage of malnutrition in children under age 5 to 26% in 2015 and 23% in 2020.
According to the Ministry of Health, over 30% of children below the age 5 in Vietnam suffer from malnutrition. Nghệ An was one of the first provinces in Vietnam to implement the school meal program. After implementation, the rate of malnutrition fell from 40% to 18%.
We learned that the program has significantly improved and enhanced Vietnamese children's health. We were successful because we received a lot of support from businesses, especially enterprises in the milk industry.
There are more than 12 million children in kindergarten and primary school. After 1 year of implementation, the project has faced challenges because of the financial shortages and a definitive policy on what milk should be used.
We hope that the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Health will provide guidelines of what milk products are allowed to be used in the program, so we are more consistent in what milk products to provide children. The best way is to construct a fund for the school milk program, to call for support from the government, enterprises and individuals. Enterprises in the milk sector need to take the lead.
Vietnam is listed among 78 countries that suffer from high malnutrition rate among children. Lessons can be learned from Thailand, where after 5 years of implementation, the school program has greatly contributed to enhance the health of small children. With such a successful model being operated by a regional neighbor, it offers ample evidence that Vietnam can make a major contribution to improve health among its children in the period until 2030.
Perhaps one solution to making children more interested in science can be found at the World of Light Science Film Festival held on the 12th of October in Hanoi. Children had the opportunity to learn about the world of science through practical activities here.
This class at Lake Widon Primary School is something different, as students have an opportunity to watch some fun science movies.
The How to Make a Rainbow film was very useful, because when asked if I know all about rainbows, I can answer. I will take part in next year too.
I feel so happy. Science is so exciting. I like the Flying Elephant movie. I thought it can't be real, but this film proved I was wrong. The movie show is one of the activities of the festival, telling different stories about light. 13 films from 5 countries how children answer such questions as what is photosynthesis, how does the light cause pollution. Hence, children will gain more knowledge about nature, light technology and environmental protection.
We want to make children interested in these items in an entertaining way. The Goethe Institute is organizing this film festival in order to nurture the interest of kids and young audiences in science and new technology. Why that? Science and new technology are the key for development.
This festival is great for all children. By watching the movies, they can remember more information about science, and everything is easier to understand.
In recent years, children and young people in more than 13 provinces have been given opportunities to participate in this event. They can access new knowledge, conduct experiments, and play games that test their scientific knowledge.
We don't only approach new technologies and science items and topics, but we want also to encourage teachers and children to experience a new form of teaching and learning.
The festival has been held in 8 provinces and cities across the country. It will eventually attract more than 30,000 young participants.
Now, just before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the latest weather forecast. That's it for our newscast. Now please log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more of our content. Goodbye for now and see you in the last bulletin of the day.